Hi, I'm Milena, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a first chapter challenge that I've done before, but I'm going to do it again. I have gathered 20 classics to pick from today and I'm gonna read the first chapter of as many as I can tonight. It is around 4 o'clock right now and it gets dark so early now, so I think we're gonna sit here all evening and just read first chapters together. These are the 20 I'm going to pick from. I'm going to randomly choose from the books using this chart that has little bits of paper from 1 to 20 and I'm gonna read the first chapter of whatever book I pick. I will give you a little prediction and a little intrigue between 1 and 10 after reading every first chapter. So I think I'm not gonna get through as much as I did last time where I read I think 15 because we're just gonna do this evening because I want to upload this vlog as this week's video. Without further ado, let's just give it a little shake and let's grab the first one. Right, which is number 11. Wait, can you see? Yes, it's number 11. First chapter of The Wedding and I liked it. It kind of felt like The Garden Party by Catherine Mansfield meets The Great Gatsby. It's kind of my feel for it. We follow a family before the youngest daughter of the family gets married, but there is some controversy because she's going to marry a white man. That is all we know. It's only a few pages, the first chapter. The writing is quite easy, but I will save this for the summer because it feels like a very summery read. So that's the first book down. Let's get the second one. I kind of need to do some laundry, so it'd be nice. It'd be nice if I could get one with an audiobook. Okay, yes, we've got one. This is 17. Number 17 is Watership Down by Richard Adams, and this is quite a recent purchase of mine, so let me check if it has an audiobook and then I'll probably go and do some laundry. It does have an audiobook, but I had to make sure it was unabridged because it's a children's book, of course, but this one is unabridged, so let's start.
Blackstone Publishing presents Watership Down by Richard Adams.
This is immediately so intriguing. In the first chapter we get introduced to a group of rabbits. We have some social politics within the way that the rabbits live, and then one of the rabbits thinks that he sees blood and the other rabbits kind of don't believe him, and that's where the first chapter ends. I'm going to have to say this is a 9 out of 10 intrigue. I kind of really wanted to keep on reading, and it seems like a really dark book for a children's book. I think the way that the animals have emotions and feelings kind of reminded me of Animal Farm by George Orwell. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to pick this up in the future. Right, next one. Ooh. Yes, alright, this is number 16. I don't know, it's getting dark. I don't know if you can see. Number 16. Number 16 is A Passage to India by Ian Forster, which has been on my TBR in the past, so I'm glad to finally kind of get a taste of it because this is a TBR fill. I feel this could be a very long first chapter. Let's see. Part 1, chapter 1. Oh, it's very short. Let's see, it's very short, so let's go. First chapter is, I want to say nothing special, but I mean nothing really happens. We just get a description of a place in India where our main character has traveled to, and I read the first few lines of chapter 2, which introduces us to the character. It's beautifully but very slowly written. It's very descriptive, but I love Ian Forster's writing, so once I get into this I think I will love it. But based on the first chapter I would say intrigue is 5 out of 10, just because it's pure description and my mind isn't really locked into story yet. So this is, I think, just Ian Forster's the kind of writing where you need to read like 50 pages I think before you are really invested and before you really want to keep on reading. I do still expect that I will love this, it's just the first chapter hasn't really hooked me. Time for another one. Gosh, I'm trying to not get the same numbers. Like, oh, we got the last one. We got number 20. Okay, so number 20 is, I think, my most recent purchase, or one of my most recent purchases when it comes to classics, and that is a book that I got that I showed in the video I did with my dad. But this is The General in his Labyrinth by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, translated by Edith Grossman. But let's first remove the dust jacket. That's so cute. It has bookmarks. It has deckled edges, so it always takes a bit to get to the first chapter. Right, it says, "It seems that the devil controls the business of my life." Wow, okay. We have a map, which I always love, which is, I see Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia, kind of the northwest. The deckled edges are killing me already, even though I think it's beautiful. I think I'm just gonna do the first 10 pages to get a feel of it. So here we go. Again, a super intriguing one. We follow a general and we know that a lot of things have happened before, because right now it's evening, he's just alone in his room and he's feeling very depressed, and we know that a lot of wars and things have happened before and that a lot of people have opinions on him and that he's not very safe. Just the first sentence is already so intriguing. José Palacios, his oldest servant, found him floating naked with his eyes open in the purifying waters of his bath, and thought he had drowned. So intrigue wise I would say 8 out of 10, but I'm not incredibly loving the setting and the character, so let's say a 7 out of 10. But this could definitely surprise me. It's not at all reminding me writing wise, the way that the story is set up. It does not remind me of 100 Years of Solitude. It feels very different, which is exciting, I think, when an author writes something in such a different tone. It's not like I cannot wait to read this, but I think it will be a very fascinating character study. So let's have another shake. Okay. This is, you can see before me, number 15. Why am I getting numbers so close to each other when I'm doing the shakes? Okay, so number 15 is The Warden by Anthony Trollope. I've read the first chapter of The Warden, and this is very much a tell not show kind of writing. It's very Victorian in a way that the introduction almost feels like a history. We get introduced to the town, we get introduced to our main character, who is the Warden, who is called Reverend Harding, and his daughter. And I think Reverend Harding is a man who is very free and generous, which is not what I expected the referent to be. It's not the kind of referent that you expect in a novel, so I'm enjoying that. I'm curious to meet his daughter, but because it's told as a history, I wouldn't say that it's super intriguing. I'm just gonna say a 5 out of 10, but I did really enjoy the audiobook because I listened to the first chapter. It is narrated by David Shaw Parker, so I will keep that one to listen to when I'm going to read this eventually, but not super intriguing so far. Okay, now I want like one that is on a different pile. Come on. I'm not good at shaking apparently. Let's see. Let's try to drop just one. Oh, okay, this one. This is number 1. So yes, from a different pile. Right, number 1 is Indiana by George Sand. I read the first chapter of Indiana by George Sand. This is just pre-Victorian. It was published in 1831. This feels like a more playful version of The Tenets of Frightful Hall. We meet a very young woman whose nickname is, I think, Indiana, and she has married a much older man, and he's quite cruel. He is ex-military and he really behaves like that. He has a low regard for the lives of people of lower class, for animals. We see that she has a hard time navigating her emotions and feelings and her behavior towards him. Compared to the Warden, how this world is introduced is much more descriptive in an indirect way, and I think this will be a bit of a tough read. The writing doesn't feel easy, but I think it will be very rewarding, and I think I will really like the writing. So intrigue, I would say 7 out of 10 for this one. Okay, I'm gonna make dinner now, but I can do that with an audiobook. So let's have another one. Let's give it a bit of a shake. All right, I have one. Yes. Right, and this is number 18. Oh yay, number 18 is Between the Acts by Virginia Woolf. So let's see if it has an audiobook, which I doubt, by the way. And then I'm gonna make dinner. If it doesn't have an audiobook, we're gonna grab another one. So give me a minute. Here's how I felt. So it doesn't have an audiobook that I can just access. I would have to spend a credit on it, so I'm not doing that. I will read that one after dinner, but first let's get one that does have an audiobook, hopefully. Right. Yeah, here we go. This is, can you see it, number 4. Number 4 is David Copperfield, and that one does have an audiobook, of course. So let's start listening to that one. I'm excited. Right, I found one narrated by Nicholas Bolton.
Charles Dickens. Read by Nicholas Bolton. Chapter 1. I Am Born.
I read the first 10 pages of Between the Acts because it doesn't really have chapters, it just has pulses. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about this. I of course am a fan of Virginia Woolf, but you're always thrown into a book in such a abrupt and almost violent way. You have no idea who the characters are, you don't know where you are, you don't know what's happening, and it's just kind of a wild ride at the beginning. I wouldn't really say that I'm intrigued to read the rest of it, but it's set in a house. We know the house is the core of the beginning and all the characters are preparing for something, and I think they're going to prepare for a play. They're going to perform a history, and I really like the idea of that, and I think the intrigue will start once the play starts, is what I'm guessing. So intrigue wise, this is really low. I would say like a 3 out of 10 because I just don't know what was happening. But same with Ian Forster, I think once I'm reading this I will really love it. I think I listened to the first few chapters of David Copperfield because I wasn't really keeping track of the audiobook. Yeah, I wasn't really keeping track of the audiobook. I was just listening while I was cooking, and this is like a 9 out of 10 intrigue because it just the title of the first chapter alone, I Am Born, it's so intriguing. I really enjoyed it. And we meet different characters and it's all from such an interesting perspective of someone talking about his life before he was born, which of course seems so impossible, but still he's telling the story as if it was there. I really am enjoying the narrative style. I think I will really enjoy this when I'm going to read it. I like the story of David Copperfield in general when I've seen adaptations of it, and I've been really enjoying Dickens lately, which is so strange, but I think I'm really going to enjoy this one as well. So yeah, intrigue, 9 out of 10. Let's get the next one. My battery is flashing, so I hope it doesn't go away. Okay, this is I think a 9, or is it a 6? No, I think this is a 9. Right, number 9 was Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Susan. I got this from a blind date with a book from the book cafe, so I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to get myself into, but I think it's pretty intense. This book is kind of a diary format, but not really. We get dates. So we follow Anne, who lives in this small town, and her mother and her grandma really want her to have a traditional life, to marry and keep in the house that their family has had. She doesn't want that, so she goes to New York and she goes to work for an attorney who represents famous people. Like, the intrigue is there in the sense that I think the writing is kind of set up in a way that you know so many things are going to happen and that it's probably going to be an adventurous story, but I'm just not loving the basic coming of age feminist storyline. I feel like, oh, I've seen this so many times before and I don't really see how this is going to bring so many new things to me, and also I don't love stories about famous people. I don't know if I will enjoy this, but intrigue was pretty okay, so I will say like intrigue was like 6 out of 10. My expectation for the whole book is quite low. I'm going to do one more because then I have read 10 first chapters. I read from half of the books that I picked for this video. Okay, so let's grab the last one. Okay. This is number 3, which is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. So I have to say I usually really care about the editions that I buy, but I really dislike this edition, but I got it secondhand. But I think what I dislike the most is the fact that this just doesn't scream Victorian at all to me. Oh, I paid €9 for the secondhand edition. I probably shouldn't have. I wish I had a different edition of this one. Let's see if it has like a decent first chapter. Oh, it does. Okay, let's go. I read the first 2 chapters of this one because every chapter is just a few pages, and it starts out as like a typical gothic thing. We have a vague description of a family. Our main character meets an Italian professor. So we have that typical foreigner who is probably quite mysterious and who leads to a connection to a bigger story. The writing is quite formal, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to love that, but I think once you get into it, it's fine. I feel very meh about this, but I do think that there are a few hints towards like a gothic story, which of course is always intriguing. So I think like intrigue, 6 out of 10. I'm not sure how I'm going to love Wilkie Collins' writing. I've never read anything by Wilkie Collins, so I don't know. It feels a bit formal, but maybe that's just in the introduction. We'll see. So I think the books I'm most excited for are Watership Down, Indiana, and David Copperfield, which I did not necessarily expect that these would come out of this pile. Again, I think the last time I did this, I did have like high expectations for certain books when it came to how I would feel about it if I would keep on reading them. Because of the challenge, I have not picked them up. So I do think doing this has some influence on the books that I feel excited about and that I want to read. So these are the 10 classics. Oh my gosh, here we go. These are the 10 classics that I read the first chapter of. If you've read any of these books and if you think that maybe I will enjoy them more once I read more of them, I would really love to know any of these books that I should prioritize on my top 20 TBR. I am not sure all of these are in here because this is my top 20 TBR, just the little notes. Because I think some of these are very recent purchases, so then they're not in here yet. When I've read some books, I will grab them out of the TBR and replace them with some newer books. This was a fun way to spend a few hours. I had a lot of fun doing this and I wanted to share a video this week because all the other things that I'm working on are taking me a little bit longer and I'm in a little bit of a reading slump, so this is kind of helpful to just read a few pages of different books. But it's okay, I've been reading a lot, so I don't really mind being in a little bit of a reading slump. I'm just watching some TV and I know that I will get back into reading pretty soon. I'm very excited for next week's video because I'm finally sharing a TBR board video again, and I've made some alterations to the TBR board, so I hope that you're excited to watch that. I hope that you are not in a reading slump and that you're reading some beautiful classics. I'm also reading a beautiful classic, but I will talk to you about that specific book probably in 2 or 3 weeks. For now, I hope you have a lovely day or evening, and I hope to see you in another video. Doei!